to the first episode of One Mug, One Journey here in the PDW building at the Uni of Lincoln.
Throughout this series, we are going to be going to different workshops and we're going to experience what you could potentially be doing in this building.
We're going to be going over all the different segments of the PDW building, but today we're starting off in clay making, learning how to make a clay mug.
Let's go.
So we started the clay making process with Mick, and we started a process called wedging, which was basically just pushing the dough or the clay to get all of the air out of it. Then we also rolled it into like a sausage shape before we then later flattened it out to become the mug. So then what we wanted to do is we wanted to make the mug, so the sides of the mug and also the base the same thickness. To do this we used 2 pieces of wood and then used a rolling pin to roll it out at the top. So then we pushed down and it would all be the same thickness.
I found this bit really interesting as I've never really done anything like this before, especially with using the tools and stuff. I've done pottery before in A-level, but I've never had to use a proper rolling pin and wooden slats to level it all out before. So then Mick introduces to using this little thing called a liver, which effectively smooths out all the little lines and creases inside your clay.
This was a really easy technique, really simple technique, but I really enjoyed it in the way that it actually helped us get lots of imperfections out of the clay itself, and it was just a really simple way of making the mugs look a lot better. Mick then gave us these templates that we could put on top of the mug and then cut around them. A long rectangle was the sides of the mug and this circular piece here was for the base of the mug. I really enjoyed using these templates here as it meant that I could just cut around them and be really accurate with what I wanted it to look like, and yeah, I think it made a better product in the end.
So this step was really easy and effective, and it was very straightforward in that you got given the little pieces of wood. And I don't have to think about putting in all the dimensions and the sizings for the mug as it was already given to us, so this was fairly simple.
A huge thank you to Mick for taking us through each step of making the mug. Without him and his detailed steps, we wouldn't have been able to make a mug as efficiently as we did.
So here Mick was teaching us how to hash out the edges of our mug to then attach it to each other. We then use something called slip, which is like a watered down version of the clay, almost like a paste. So we also put the mug together and they overlapped to each side, and then we got a little knife and we cut it diagonally down. The reason for doing this is to make sure that they merge together better. So after putting the mug together, you'll see that I started to do more of a squished look of a mug. This is because in the future weeks upcoming, we've got an animation scene where you'll see the mug that we have made go into an animated creature, kind of like a creature as it bounces about. And I was doing this step in between that, so you've got the original mug that Owen was doing, and then you've got my mug where it goes kind of squished down and then back up again.
After getting the diameter right for the size and the top of the mug, we then used some extra clay, rolled it into a sausage-like shape and made that into like the handle. So after this we then used a sort of wet material called slip, and this allowed us to attach the bottom and also the sides of the mug together.
I also struggled when it came to actually creating the handle, because obviously I've made a squished mug, so I had to think about how I was going to make the handle look. Obviously it wouldn't be a normal handle because the mug is squished, so I had to move and mould the clay around how the mug would go and shape it around that. So when it came to doing the base, I had to try and flip the mug around without actually destroying the mug, and this bit was quite difficult.
Then after this I actually got a brush and added some more slip just to fill in some of the cracks that were on the mug. So that is a wrap on the clay making process. We're going to be moving on to the glazing process in the next episode.
So join us next episode to see that happen.